Welcome to Queen City Cyber Consulting's channel.
Welcome back to Queen City Cyber Consulting. Today we're going to take a deep dive into an Active Directory breach investigation. Now, you may ask yourself, why would he choose Active Directory? Well, if you think back over the course of our time together here on YouTube, domain controller has come up before. A domain controller is a server that basically serves as the manager for security and access for a Windows domain in an Active Directory environment. It provides a lot of security help. In other words, it verifies user and computer credentials at logon via some different formats like Kerberos or NTLM. It also is the authority that issues out Kerberos tickets and service tickets that allow authenticated users to access resources without having to continually re-enter their credentials. It also can be used to enforce access control by checking group memberships and permissions. Now, that already doesn't tell you just how important Active Directory is. It does a lot of other things too. And it's basically the crown jewel of an Active Directory environment, which would probably be the majority of Windows environments. It can be used to forge Kerberos tickets, the golden ticket as it's known. If you remember Willy Wonka, that golden ticket, that's the ticket to the kingdom, is what it comes down to. Attackers can get to and dump credentials from a domain controller. They can set up and manipulate GPOs across the entire domain. And when we start seeing this type of system, the domain controller and Active Directory being attacked, you can pretty much know you've got a problem. So what I want us to do for this video is take a step back, and we're going to come at this sort of as we are a member of a Security Operations Center or a SOC, or we're a member of the incident response team coming in. So what just happened? Well, an alert fired. Your SOC analyst is sitting at his desk monitoring these alerts, and an alert fired, which says an unapproved domain admin account was added just 20 minutes ago. Lateral movement was detected across 3 core servers in the environment. Active Directory is the heart, of course, of the enterprise network. So, if an attacker manages to get control of that AD, they control identity, authentication, and access across all the connected systems to that server. If it's breached, you don't panic. You don't just start randomly rebooting domain controllers. And folks, I can tell you, I've seen IT staff do exactly that. And rebooting does not kick the attackers out of the network. What you have to do instead is follow a systematic triage process. And that's what we're going to go through here in this scenario. Now, you have to keep in mind when an incident comes in, a lot of emotions are rising. People get frustrated, they get anxious, they're scared. And you, as the SOC analyst or as the incident response team member, you have to deal with a wide range of emotional reactions to this. It's a computer, but you know what? It's also the heart of the business. It's also It could be that system administrator's job on the line if this ends up not being able to be contained quickly or if data has been stolen. So that system administrator is upset and angry and not listening to reason or ration. That's what you're going to be dealing with out there in the real world. Sure, we're focused on these computer systems, but the people who run them, the people who manage them, they're the ones with emotions. They're the ones with angst when this kind of thing happens. So you need to be able to have some personal skills to be able to calm them down, keep them from panicking, and start walking them through this process of investigation and then remediation as you go. And it's important that you have that systematic process set up because that gives not only them but you a way forward. Now, I don't know if any of my watchers go out into the woods and hike and walk around and enjoy nature. I do. And there's nothing worse than getting lost in the woods. Every tree looks the same. You lose track of what path you're on, and there's deer paths and animal paths that cross it, and you can very easily get lost. So, without a map, without a guide, or without personal knowledge of how to deal with the environment that you find yourself in, it's very easy to panic, to lose direction, to start walking in circles. Pretty common phenomenon when people get lost in the wilderness. So, take that analogy and put it into play here as well, because this is the map. This is what's going to get you home. All right. So here's our Active Directory incident response protocol. In the first 0 to 15 minutes, you want to, if you can, and I've rarely seen it happen this fast, isolate and capture the domain controller logs. Now, what are you looking to grab here right off the bat? And this is where your SOC 1 analyst should be trained and have a playbook to follow to know I need these 3 logs immediately: security, system, and directory service. They come in EVTX. You can get them very easily through most EDR tools. If you don't have access to an EDR tool, then you need to run a triage tool of some sort in order to grab those files. Now, a triage tool is going to do a lot more than just get these 3 files, but you definitely want to start there. Preserve them, isolate them, and capture them. Within the first 15 to 30 minutes, hopefully, if your SOC analyst is moving fast, you're going to be tracing the initial access via the log on event IDs. So you're looking at 4624 and 4625. And that's your logon types 3 and 10. And that logon type 3 is a network logon. Often can be mapped to PsExec or pass the hash, possibly, if that's being used. And logon type 10 is your remote desktop or RDP. So all those are suspicious, and hopefully you can use that to jump into your investigation and provide some insight into what's happening. Moving out to around an hour, you're looking for Kerberos abuse. That's under event 4768. And any events for 4769, the RC4 ticket request, because an attacker is going to be trying to escalate their privileges. If they've come into this as a regular user, they want to become an administrator. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to escalate their privileges, become an administrator, and then they have the keys to the kingdom. At moving out to 60 to 90 plus minutes, you're looking for desync, you're looking for rogue admin creation accounts, and any other illicit activity. They could be staging information for data exfil. They could be doing all kinds of things at this point. And a lot of this depends on if they know you're aware of them. And sometimes yes, sometimes no. I have seen companies go down one path or the other. Do we want to alert the attackers that we know they're here? Or do we want them to just continue on while we know what they're doing and then move later? I always try to push for that we need to take immediate action because you just never know what's going to happen. And it's you've You can't allow an attacker to just roam through your network and do whatever they will. So evidence preservation comes into play here. Now, we've not really talked about that in any of my other videos, but this does become an important topic at this point because you need to have an eye to either possible criminal charges or possible civil liability, those kinds of things. So you need a chain of custody in order to be able to preserve your logs correctly. That's a topic for another video to get into. It's often also overlooked at that first level when those event logs are first collected. Oftentimes they're not hashed, there's not copies made of them that are kept as the pristine copy. And then everybody's fingerprints are all over them. And you don't want to do that. You need to make sure you have forensic integrity and you get that ground zero timeline reconstruction set up and running right from that first alert, because that first alert date timestamp is your ground zero, not patient zero, but ground zero. That's where all of your timelining is going to start spinning up from, because that's when you first noticed an issue in the network. Now, we've talked about window event IDs in previous videos. And for this one, I want to stress that if you're only going to memorize 5 event IDs, these would be 5 you need to know and make sure that you have them memorized. 4624, 4720, 4728, 4769, and 4662. And these are mostly, not always, but mostly Active Directory specific. But in almost any Windows environment, Active Directory is going to be present and you're going to have to investigate it. So having these memorized help you move quicker on that triage path that we talked about back here. So in other words, now, like I said, these timelines are probably way off. But if you're that SOC 1 analyst who gets the alerts and who captures the event logs and who can immediately begin looking to see what's going on, if you don't have to go out to the internet to figure out what these are or pull up a cheat sheet to know I need to be looking for 4624 event IDs or, whichever one, I mean, pick one. That's going to save you some time, is what it comes down to. And even here, AI is not going to do a lot for us. It takes the human in the loop at this point still to do this investigation. So there are a lot of threat vectors when it comes to things like Kerberos. Kerberos is pretty well known out in the world. You need to know what it is. Kerberos does definitely do a lot of work, and it will be part of pretty much any investigation that you get yourself involved in at some point or another. So what it is Kerberos is basically the default authentication protocol for Windows Active Directory. Now it's used in other places as well, like Mac. Some Linux environments could use it as well. In case you didn't know, it's named after the three-headed dog from Greek mythology that guards the underworld. And that's why it kind of fits, because the protocol involves 3 parties: the client, the server, the client wants access to, and a trusted third party that vouches for both sides of that. So you've got 3 elements there. And you can see all 3 elements are attacked in these various things. Golden ticket is something you really need to keep in mind. And we'll probably cover golden ticket in another video. But that golden ticket is something that can be stolen and misused, because they can forge it, they can steal it. It allows them to bypass standard password updates until it's reset twice, not once, but twice. And there are a ton of scripts out there to allow you to do this. But all of these different attacks do come into play when we're talking about investigating Active Directory breaches. So, for example, AS rep roasting. This is where accounts are targeted with pre-authentication Kerberos disabled. And what you want to look for is event ID 4768 requesting those TGTs, which if you come over to MITRE, here you go. This is in Windows. You can see Active Directory credential request down here. You can see process creation is also involved down here. And it gives you a really good example of what you need to be looking for. This is detected here as ASREP roasting. So if we click on that, we get back over here. And as you can see already, you've got a ton of words, I guess, that you need to know and need to understand. And that's why MITRE ATT&CK is such a good resource for us to use, because it can help us understand what's going on over here. Again, your KRBTGT ticket needs to be reset twice. That's the golden ticket. If you don't reset that account password twice and only do it once, which I have seen some businesses do, it leaves the previous password stored in Active Directory history to maintain service continuity. And that's what most businesses want, is continuity. They want to be able to just keep on going. But when it comes to an identified incident where they are under active attack, you have to reset it twice. And again, like I said, there are a ton of scripts out there that can be run in an environment that does this for you. It doesn't have to be a manual reset. These scripts will actually do it, and do it in 24-hour increments so that it's reset once and then reset again the next day. And that way that old golden ticket is purged from the network. And there are some privilege escalation techniques to be aware of. And we've talked about some of these, like PsExec, WMI, NTLM hashes, or pass the hash tickets, pass the ticket attacks. These are all topics for more videos because all of them are pretty in depth. And you need to understand them, though. I'm not saying that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, so as I create the videos that deal with these attack vectors and how to investigate them, you can be prepared for your certification test or your job interview or whatever it is that you're trying to do, or just be a better SOC analyst or incident response analyst. So our containment and eradication checklist, you want to isolate source endpoints, of course. Disconnect any ground zero workstations. Remember, I mentioned that phrase earlier. And any jump hosts using your EDR, using your firewall or your network segmentation tools, or if it comes down to it, pull the network cable and just get it off the network. Any rogue accounts that are discovered, you've got to disable them. You need to terminate active sessions and disable those accounts. And attackers will create new accounts routinely within an environment, thinking that hopefully one will be missed and then they can use it to get back in. Execute the double or dual golden ticket reset. That's performed via scripted two-step reset. And harden your tier 0 access. You've got to enforce some further rules in your environment. You don't want remote desktop access to your domain controller. Your jump boxes should only be accessed by your domain administrators, things like that. That's also not only going to be verbally recommended, but it's also going to be put into the incident response report. And there'll be an entire list of recommendations for securing the environment moving forward after the investigation. Very important part of it. And again, I have mentioned in some other videos, I will, as soon as time comes around, review an incident response report and what needs to be in it. So we're looking at Active Directory. What are some initial breach vectors? Well, of course, credential theft and reuse. You know, they steal somebody's password, and that password is being used across multiple systems. Active Directory misconfigurations is routine. I know system admins and network admins and IT people think they know it all, but I couldn't tell you how many times doing an investigation, we come across these misconfigurations in the system, and attackers know it and take advantage of it. Unpatched vulnerabilities. Now, this may be a little bit old because last year unpatched vulnerabilities were huge. They were happening everywhere. A lot of your perimeter systems, your firewalls and things like that, your VPNs into the network were being hammered with vulnerabilities. And attackers don't waste any time. When they discover a vulnerability, they create a 0-day for it and move on. Whereas most of your companies, they've got like a 30-day window to patch. Attackers don't have a 30-day window. They will move within a day to 2 days, if not within a week, to take advantage of a vulnerability discovered in a system. And of course, you've got phishing and initial access brokers that are there. Phishing is usually your initial infection vector, and then they will move from that end user system to click the phishing email and try to get to the Active Directory. And so the Active Directory becomes kind of like a second stage of the attack, not patient zero, but a second stage of the attack. And looking at those logs, you can go back, hopefully, and backtrace it to patient zero and find out how they got in the first place. In Active Directory, attackers don't just hack in, they sign in. So here, what our mission is to find stolen identities, abused Kerberos tickets, and any rogue persistence that is left behind by the attackers, hoping to come back at a later date and make their presence known once again. Feel free to comment on the video. Feel free to ask questions. It's all about community, people. All about community. We need to discuss these things. I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, look for me, Dave Beiser. I'm over there. I have a Substack. I've got a website. I've got email. I mean, there's no reason why we can't communicate, share information, and ask questions. That's how we all grow. That's how we get better. So, Queen City Cyber Consulting signing off. Go forth and conquer.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.